All right, so we will go ahead and get started. Can everyone hear me and see my slide deck? Perfect, thank you. All right, so welcome to day 3 of our Meet the Firms panel discussions. Today, the topic is appreciating diversity within the accounting industry. So we have a handful of panelists today, and if you guys would go through and just introduce yourself, you can go in order and introduce yourself and your firm. That would be great. So Brad, you can start it off for us if you don't mind.
Yeah, alphabetical order. BDO and Brad tend to go first. My name is Brad Knight, Managing Director of our Risk Advisory Services based in the Atlanta office. A graduate of Tennessee twice in 2004 from the MAC in 2002 from undergrad, both accounting. So glad to be back.
Hi, I'm Kira Moody. I am the lead campus diversity recruiter here at DHG. I did not go to UT, unfortunately, but still very excited to be here. One of my favorite schools to help recruit at. I've been with the firm for about 5 years and just recently moved into the role as our lead diversity campus recruiter. So excited to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. John Paul Davis. I'm with Henderson Hutchinson McCullough out of our Chattanooga office. I'm a graduate undergrad and MBA program from the Chattanooga campus of UT. Love recruiting, happy to plug in, and I head up our advisory services group. So excited to be a part of the process. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Amber Cutler. I'm a partner with PWC in our Atlanta office and a graduate of the University of Tennessee. I graduated back in 2003. I've been with PWC since my internship in the spring or winter, whatever you want to call it, back in 2003. I work in our assurance practice, like I mentioned, mostly here in Atlanta. And I had the opportunity to do a 2-year tour with our firm as well in Amsterdam. For those of you that may not know much about PWC, we're a global firm. We have offices in nearly every country, and here in the US, we employ a little in excess of 55,000 people. So excited to talk to you all today and give you a little bit more insight into our firm.
And good afternoon, everyone. Charles Barley. I'm a principal here in RSM Security and Privacy Practice based just outside of Washington, D.C. A little fun fact, while I did not graduate from UT, I was recruited to run track there, although I decided to go elsewhere. So I do have an affinity for the school. But I am the recent past national lead of our Black Professional Network, and I am passionate about recruiting all employees and candidates to our firm. And so I'll still a little bit of a Amber's thunder there and give a little bit of a plug for RSM, but we are the 5th largest firm, similarly structured audit tax consulting and focused on the middle market with just under 43,000 folks here. So happy to be on today's panel with all of you.
Great, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak to our students and help, I guess, answer any questions they may have. So for the students on the call, you guys may not know how today's gonna go. So we have pre-assigned 6 or 7 questions to the firms, and they will answer those as we go through. And then at the end, assuming there's time, you are welcome to ask any of the panelists any questions you may have. So start jotting those down if anything comes to mind as the panelists are talking today, because you'll get a chance to ask them those questions at the end. So our first question today is for BDO and HHM CPA. What does appreciating diversity in the accounting industry mean to you?
John, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, sure. I was trying to remember to unmute myself too, and I figure we're all used to this by now with Zoom calls. But anyways, you know, I've thought a lot about this before I hopped on the call and what it means. But you know, from our perspective, all of our clients are unique. So if that's, you know, looking at what diversity means, whether it's generational, whether it's cultural, education level, socioeconomic. So, as we look to our clients and how to best serve them or how to get clients, you could be working with someone that's just starting up a company or working with someone that's looking to transition it. So it's important for us to really pay attention to how are we able to meet the needs of our clients and service them, while at the same time understanding diversity and having that within our own accounting firm as well. And it's difficult to have, you get into the problem of just being a commodity if the type of client you serve is just one type of client, right? So as far as the diversity within the company as without, we're looking to hire and cultivate that type of culture where we can meet the needs of a variety of types of clients.
Yeah, and for me, it's probably a slightly different perspective. When I think about diversity in the accounting profession and the accounting industry, it's fostering for us, and for me, it's fostering a culture that not only celebrates our individual differences, but we're actively supporting people that have that wide range of backgrounds, right? And they might have different perspectives, they might have different ways of working, but it means giving them the support, the tools, the abilities to thrive in this profession and thrive in this environment, which isn't always easy. But we make those investments and we celebrate the differences so that we have a workplace, a firm, engagement teams that reflects the communities in which we live in and where we're working. We're aware of and learning from the different cultures and perspectives and people that we're encountering every day. And fostering those ideas in our people and the way that we approach our work is better for everyone. Provides significantly more opportunities for professional and personal growth than any of the alternatives. And we're looking at diversity across race, gender, working parents, the different flexibility that's required there. There is a wide array of needs and people that we're trying to incorporate and include. And you can't just stop at diversity. You have to have an inclusion effort. It's great to have diversity, but if you're not conscious about inclusion, that effort will fall flat. And we can talk about that more later, but that's the answer to the question, Rachel.
Both great answers. Thank you, guys. So the next question is for PWC and DHG, and it's how have you personally seen your company celebrate diversity?
Kira, you want to kick it off?
Sure. I think that in the time that we're in right now is kind of the trifecta of so many different things that are happening within our country and within the world, be it the pandemic, racial injustice, all those issues. And I would say that DHG has done a great job at trying to address every need that everybody is having. I think that Brad mentioned it very well, in that it's about inclusion and accepting everybody. It's not black and white, it's parents, it's ethnicity, it's how you identify yourself. All of that stuff is included. And so we have personally, thinking about the flexibility. Someone mentioned it not too long ago that we used to get to work from home. That was an exciting thing for us. And now we're almost living at work because we are working from home and trying to navigate through that process. So we have to look at, what does that mean for our people that are doing that? Are they isolated, or do they have children at home? Just focusing more on those things and providing resources to those people to be able to help them throughout this time. Our CEO, Matt Snow, made it very clear what our firm's stance is on racial injustice. He sent out a firm-wide email communication about it. We have hosted several firm-wide calls related to this topic as well. We've done my experience panels where it's talking about being Black in America and things like that, and making this a very transparent conversation for people to be able to tell their story, because one person's story is not another person's story. So in all of that, I feel like it's more about making sure that everybody's voice is heard and they have the platform to be able to talk about those things. There are several other initiatives that we go through, and it's a long list. I feel that we don't have the time to kind of go through all of those, but as a whole, DHG looks to celebrate the person. And so in celebrating the different people and teammates that we have on our team and within our firm, you inevitably celebrate diversity. And so I'll leave it with that and let Amber come and give her a little spiel as well for the question.
Thanks, Kira. So I think when we talk about celebrating diversity at PWC, it's more than an initiative. It's our culture, and it starts at day one at the firm. And for me, you know, when I think about the staff that I coach when they join the firm, talking to them immediately about what is their life experience to date, what do they need to be supported in their professional career from a coaching perspective, from a mentoring perspective, and from a sponsorship perspective. And so we certainly have programs, as almost all the firms do, for our underrepresented minorities when they join the firm, whether that be Black, whether you're Latinx, whether you're female. You go to some sort of initial welcome program where you get to be with individuals that have hopefully life experiences and some immediate life connections that you can have there and support that you have when you meet the firm. But as that progresses in your career, I think what I've seen at PwC is that it's just our culture where diversity and inclusion is important to us. Our senior partner, Tim, has continuously pushed this forward, not just within our firm, but across the country with CEOs. Our firm founded CEO Action for Diversity 2 years ago, which was an acknowledgement that diversity and inclusion is not just a company thing. It's got to be a transformational thing where even if we're able to move the needle within PwC, if we can't move the needle within society, we're not solving a problem, or we're not solving the broader societal problem. So diversity to me means being able to bring your whole self to work, and that whole self being celebrated at work and being supported at work. Me individually, I'm a female. I made partner at PwC. I'm a working mom of 4. And being able to see that support and feel that support throughout my career has been something that was really important to me in sticking with the firm along the way.
Great, thank you guys. All right, so question 3 for RSM and HHM. Why is it so important in today's climate to use proper language and interpersonal skills within the field?
I'll jump in real quick. That, you know, the first thing I thought of when I read the question was just respect. So, you know, as far as using proper language and interpersonal skills, it's just the appreciation for others. And I'll echo what others have said for previous questions, that inclusion. We're a team, and collectively, I believe that our team is stronger if we have a more diverse team. And we can, you know, through our backgrounds, our experiences, have better relations and better understanding for where people are going or coming from or what they need, essentially. And so I think it's important just from the perspective of having mutual respect for the person in front of you.
Perfect. And yeah, I'll jump in as well. And so, you know, thank you for the question. I think of, with all the different things happening in our country, from the stuff that happened in Minnesota to the things in Wisconsin this week to the pending election, everything is so divisive in nature right now, where we're all kind of forced to be in our factions. And there's nothing wrong with having a point of view. You know, I think there's value in having different sides in any potential discussion or topic. But when I think about the topic of proper language and interpersonal skills, in our firm, we have a tagline of the power of being understood. And so in order to understand someone, I first must, dare I say, attempt to walk in your shoes, to understand who you are, to appreciate the authenticity that you bring and the uniqueness. Whenever we go to market to some of our recruiting events, we have a personalities wanted contest. And so we're really looking for the unique personalities into any and every candidate that might find their way. And so in order to do that, again, I must appreciate that uniqueness in what an individual might possess. And so in order to do that, I must understand and take time to get to know you, so that because we do have and may have different perspectives, that the language that I use is appropriately tailored to the audience and the individual to whom I'm speaking with. As a father of 5 and 20 years married, my wife taught me very early on that there's powers in my words, but also the ability to resonate with each of my kids. I have to understand how to talk to each of them as if they have their own unique personalities, instead of trying to force them to be Tommy Toms or robots to all think and hear me in a particular manner. So proper language matters and must be appropriately tailored for the audience. But again, understanding who and the individual that you're talking to is also important as well.
Some really good points. Thank you both. So our next question is for BDO and PWC. How have recent events relating to discrimination, bias, and racism influenced, changed, or enhanced your firm's approach or policies?
I'll take a go, but first, Charles and Amber, I've got to get tips from you offline. I only have 3 kids, and I can't play zone defense very well, so I need pointers from those of you with 4 or 5, and anyone else that has more than 3. I can use some help right now. I think, look, how have they impacted us and our approach? Similar to what Matt at DHG has done, Wayne at BDO has put out a very clear statement, and it's to the effect of, look, we must support our people, we must support our clients, and we must positively impact the communities around us. And to that degree, some of you may have heard this. Last Friday, BDO in the US let all of our people have the day. We called it the Rest and Reflect Day, or Recharge and Reflect, right? And it was a day for us to go do what's meaningful for us, go make an impact in the community. However that resonated with us, go take that action. And I think in talking to our executive team, that's going to be a routine thing for our firm. But when we look at our strategies, how we're approaching diversity and inclusion, right, we're taking actions to enhance the dialogue and have inclusive people and leaders in those dialogues, right? Build a more diverse pipeline of talent up through the senior ranks, contributing to building a diverse future pipeline of accounting talent, not just BDO talent, but to the profession. And then a diverse and inclusive culture in our local communities, which you'll see that as a pervasive theme through what we're doing. So just some tactics that we're taking, right? We are standing up, developing now and about to deploy across the organization what we call our learning pathways, right? And those will be trainings for, unconscious bias or being an inclusive leader. And they will allow our people to go build those skills and formulate some of those understandings that we need to have. Peer mentoring programs in place. We're taking a fresh look at the recruiting plan, enhancing our investments in HBCUs, and looking at educational resources and tools, not just for our people, but across the profession. So that's a short list of things, and I think there's probably more to come, but we are certainly trying to invest and enhance our efforts in that place.
Yeah, I think when I reflect on some of the recent events, and unfortunately they continue to occur, what's come to light for me about PWC is that this is not a new conversation for us, and this is not an unnatural conversation for us. Roughly, I think it was about 5 years ago with the events in Louisiana and Texas and Minnesota again, our firm started having these conversations around really encouraging our people to talk about what's going on in society, what can we do to action and have an impact, and how do we support our people on our teams to feel comfortable talking about the hurt that they feel in their life as a result of some of these actions. So to me, what I've seen recently is it's certainly been enhanced, and with the pandemic, with all of us sitting at home in front of our computers all day, it's been something that's certainly garnered more attention, but it's felt very natural for me at PWC to have those conversations with my teams and to talk about what's real and what feelings people are having about them. I think the second thing, it's very personal to us at PWC. I don't know how many of you know this, but we lost one of our colleagues to police brutality. Botham John was killed, a black male was killed in his own apartment when a police officer broke into his apartment, mistakenly believing it was her own, I suppose. And so it's a very personal and something that touches us at PWC personally, and something where we've felt that these conversations need to happen and change in society needs to happen. And when something happens in your own organization, it touches home a little bit harder. The third thing, I mentioned the CEO action founding by our firm 2 years ago. A number of my colleagues here on the line today, their leaders have also signed on to be actionaries on the committee. And it's something where we're bringing broader change, broader education, broader discussion and openness around these discussions that need to happen around inequality that's just systematic in our organizations across the nation. So most recently, our firm has committed to 6 actions, and one of which I think has personally impacted me the most was an opportunity similar to Brad, where the firm gave a full day. We've given our employees an opportunity to use 40 hours that are chargeable hours to go do with those what you believe makes an impact in your own personal community. So I was able to take a morning a couple of weeks ago and went down to the United Way and helped pack and distribute food for some of the underserved communities in our community here in Atlanta. And just having the support to know that I can use those hours however I feel like I can personally have an impact is something where I appreciate that support and appreciate that push. And then me as a partner, it was really important to me to actually utilize that and tell my teams about that and feel like I was giving them permission to action on it themselves as well and be an example of that to my teams.
Yeah, Amber, I'm sure your leadership took it as seriously, or takes it as seriously as ours did. I mean, I shot one email off on Friday morning and I got one back that said, stop, go out, recharge, reflect, make a positive impact. And it was like, okay, got it, put it down, go be a difference maker. So I assume that your leaders are you are as well.
Great, thank you, Brad and Amber. So the next question is for DHG and RSM. What are some of the best practices to use when communicating with others who might come from a marginalized community?
Charles, I'll let you go first.
I was going to say ladies first. So yeah, no, thank you for that. So, as I thought about the question, and maybe it's just me reading too much into words, but I love to think about it as underrepresented communities and thinking about the folks that obviously we want to increase the population in all of our firms. I think we would all agree. With everything that's happening in the country, one of the things that we did, which was already a part of the fabric of our company, was immediately stand up a CEO task force on racial inclusion and equality. And so I happened to be one of the 5 members of that, along with our CEO and COO. And so what we figured that needed to happen is continuing honest and open conversations about everyone and how they feel in terms of what's happening in our country, but also how do I ensure that potentially being a white male, for example, how do I show my support as an ally, as an example? How do I continue to be a sponsor to some of these underrepresented groups? And so in that vein, we created a number of different initiatives, but the one that I'm most proudest of is the educational side. So we are continuing to push the needle to ensure that we are equipping our team members with cultural dexterity. How do I, first and foremost, understand my own biases, being a male from Washington, D.C.? How do I then shift to the point of then understanding implicit or explicit biases as well, but then having a conversation that allows us both to reach a common ground? I think seeking first to understand versus seeking to judge is kind of our approach to all of those things. But then the other part too that's impactful to me as we think about that topic of education, there's a fun little slide that we have where we talk about suspect versus respect. And so as a leader, I might suspect that a junior team member doesn't yet have the skills to have the executive presence, for example, in front of our client. But the new hire, the associate, may want the respect to treat him or her just like you would anyone else in the firm. And so you apply that to the whole topic of racial and gender equality, of suspecting that certain things may or may not happen in one's life and wanting to respect just like you would the majority. But right in the middle of those two things is this thing called trust. How do we get bi-directional trust that allows us to come from a common point of understanding to really get to a common place to have a conversation that quite frankly may be uncomfortable? And so I think that's probably the best practice, that we no longer just suspect and demand respect, but we try to identify the trust that allows us to have a equal and open conversation that leads to healing and just quite candidly a relationship that transcends some of the stuff that's happening.
That was great, Charles. I think you hit the nail on the head with talking about the education of it all. A lot of times in these conversations that I've had over the past few months, I'll say for that, I've had them over the course of my entire life being a Black female, but over the course of the past few months, a lot of things people just don't know. And we have these conversations, especially within the firm, where people come in and everybody has suspended their right to be offended. And that means all people. That means we're able to open up and have these conversations and have that dialogue where you can ask questions and try to gain an understanding, because there is not one size fits all. Charles and I are both Black, but that does not mean that we had the same experiences. Amber and I are both female, but that does not mean we have the same experiences. And so what you have to do is not put people into a box and have these stereotypes of what you think they would be like or what you think that they need, or trying to tell them what you think that they need, because we don't know what everyone needs. So I would say a best practice there would be just to have an open mind and be curious and want to understand change. One of the things that we have done recently, which I think our AAN group, which is our African American network, has made some great strides in providing an allyship page, where we've had things where people can get involved with different things, different common interest groups that we have within the firm, but our allyship is for a process and a program to provide resources to everyone who wants to get involved, who wants to make a change, who wants to do things and understand more about a specific demographic. And that allows you the opportunity to be able to do so, and do so at a rate where you're being effective and understanding. What we don't want to do is put everyone into a box where we think that we know what they need. So that the best practice that I can tell for you all is just to, like I said, have an open mind and remain an ally to all of these underrepresented groups that are within the accounting industry.
Thank you both. Those are really good points. So the final question is for all the firms, and I can, I guess, pick on you individually if you don't mind. But what initiatives does your company participate in that help appreciate diversity? I feel like you all have touched on this a little bit, but just for the students on the call, we've had some note takers this week. So people who want to jot down some of the initiatives that you guys do, that would be great. So if it's okay, I'll just go in that alphabetical order again. So Brad, if you want to kick it off for BDO.
I'm going to sign up with a different name next time.
I did it by firm though, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Next time let's do names so Amber can go first.
Okay.
No, I left one off earlier that's here. It's our multicultural alliance that we have in the firm. Our people in our local offices participate in this effort. It's our local effort to celebrate the diversity, to celebrate the different cultures and perspectives. In our Atlanta office, right, we've done a global potluck. We've done the myriad of things. We've put, pins on the globe where you're from and where you've been and those type of things. It's been educational throughout. And I think we're going to continue developing new initiatives and new programs. Historically, we've had working parents forums. There's a women's inclusion network, and a list of 4 or 5 things that aren't coming to mind right now. But we do have those initiatives, and I'd say we're working too with outside groups, professional groups, AICPA, the Institute of Internal Auditors, right, to help guide and drive their efforts as well. And I can speak to, the IIA in Atlanta, our board of governors, on which I sit. We had a 4-hour conversation a few weeks back on this topic. And what can we do as a profession? What can we do as a chapter to further the conversation? So I think, giving our people, a lot like others have mentioned, giving our people the flexibility to go do things that are meaningful to them to make an impact is probably the biggest initiative we have going right now. And there's just listening, honestly, just listening and seeking to understand.
Am I next, Rachel?
Yes, sorry, you are.
Okay. No problem. So as Brad mentioned, I think there are a bunch of different initiatives that we have going. One of the things that I will say though is we try to refrain from things being a flavor of the month at DHG. There are so many different things that pop up and so many different initiatives that happen, but this is something that is a part of our DNA, frankly. And so all the programs that I'm going to mention are not just initiatives, but things that we have been doing, will continue to do. And so some of those being, I mentioned our allyship program and resources where you can learn more about the different common interest groups that we have at the firm and learn how you can get involved in your own local communities. Speaking of that, our common interest group, which are like our employee resource groups, we have those for different demographics, whether it's African American, Latino, Pride, vets, remote working, all that runs the gamut. We have a long list of those. We also do, I mentioned our My Experience, where we have different leaders from our common interest group host these panels where they talk about what it is to go through their everyday life. We just did one with our Parents Professional Network. We also do unity workshops following those. So those are more small settings that you do within your local offices to foster some communication, education around certain topics. We partner with a bunch of different people within our communities. We're in, offices across the states, mainly in the Southeast, but everybody has different initiatives that they focus on within their own particular communities. And so just speaking for UT, we have helped sponsor their AIM Academy program, which is to recruit diverse talent into their program, and then further push them into the profession as a whole. Because one thing that we do know is that diverse talent is underrepresented within the accounting profession as a whole. Each office has an impact committee that focuses on a variety of things, but one of those things is included in inclusion and diversity. And so they plan different events that they have that help make an impact. There's a long list. I will stop there. But like I said, this is part of our DNA. So while there may be different things that you can get into and be a part of, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to celebrate things that are important to them and also understand the celebration that are important to others. And so we're very excited about the fact that the world now has time to put initiative behind all of this. And so we are no different than that and wanting to be on the forefront of change. And so very excited about all the things that we have coming up as well.
Thanks, Kira. John Paul, I believe you are next.
Yes. Thank you. And one of the things I was going to just touch on was just our core belief that the community has been good to us, and we really want to be good to our community and everyone in it. So what we do is, our initiatives, like you said, you don't want to go through and list them all, but essentially it boils down to, we want to invest in our staff, and through them, we want to invest in our community. And so if we have an initiative or a mission or something close to one of our staff members' heart, and they're volunteering or it affects their family or the rest, we'll get behind them and we'll support them 100%, whether that's staff hours, volunteering, corporate sponsorship, whatever it looks like, or whatever the best fit is for the situation. Our staff currently serve or as board members or members of over 115 organizations in our local area. I serve on various boards. It's highly encouraged. You're not required to take on it as on your own time. You can do it on firm time. And our HHM will, stand behind that, whether it's corporate money or again volunteering. We're big United Way supporters. I had the opportunity to be a loaned executive in 2009 when I first started, and annually we participate in our Day of Caring, or we'll volunteer with any organization again that's close to our staff members' hearts. So, we like to have the flexibility of a smaller firm in that area, but we also bring the resources of a larger firm. So, as far as initiatives, it's what's close to you, what's on your heart, and what's meaningful and has impact in our community.
Thank you. Amber?
Thanks, Rachel. I think at PWC, it starts early in your career. And when I look at our different programs that we have for underrepresented minorities, it starts in our internships, right? We offer early internships in our START program, where we bring in underrepresented minorities in a year earlier than we would in our advanced internships, getting folks an opportunity to be in corporate America a year earlier, be in a services industry firm. And then when you start out as an associate, there's some of our initiation programs. We have a Vanguard program. We have a program where all of our Black staff that are new to the firm are put through certain leadership development opportunities through Vanguard. And then as you progress in your career, there's opportunities to be engaged in inclusion networks similar to the other firms, as well as you get closer and closer to that pinnacle partnership, there's more leadership development opportunities for individuals that come from underrepresented minorities as well. I think across all of the firms, what you'll find is this is something that has just become built into our culture, and diversity and inclusion, while it's important to focus on it because something that's not measured doesn't improve, but it's something that's certainly also a part of our culture. And one thing I do want to mention for those of you that potentially follow Tim Ryan, our senior partner or our CEO on LinkedIn, but today PWC released for the first time ever our diversity and inclusion transparency report. And I think that it's unique in a private industry where we're a partnership. We don't publish a lot of our information, where we've put our metrics out there and we're telling the data-driven story of where we are in our diversity and inclusion journey. And it is a journey, right? There's no peak that you reach in your diversity and inclusion initiatives and or journey is over. It's a continued progress. But I am proud of our firm for putting our numbers out there, putting our metrics out there, and telling the world where we are in the journey, and providing that transparency to individuals like you all that are going through the recruiting process, to our clients who are very much attuned to this in corporate America, and giving folks an opportunity to see where we believe we're leaders in this, and to show how we're measuring ourselves in our leadership there.
Thank you. Charles, want to finish it off for us?
Excellent, thank you. Like any good relay, you give it to the anchor. So when I think about the initiatives for us, I can kind of throw them into three buckets. First, the vision and strategy side. So for us, our CDI, Culture, Diversity, and Inclusion Initiative, is a member of our corporate leadership team, and so has the ear of our CEO. One of the great things I'm proud of, that with every single meeting where we get all of our partners and principals together, our CEO reminds and holds all of the owners accountable to being engaged in this thing called diversity and inclusion. And so in that office of CDI, we've created 11 different employee network groups that span the ethnic and gender side, from our Black professionals, Asian professionals, Hispanic, to women, to abilities or disabilities, to everything you can possibly think of, to ensure that our employees feel like there's a group where they can connect and have a long-standing career with us. The second part of that, from a recruiting and retention perspective, each of the different ENGs, those employee network groups, have been given the authority, the financial support to create mentoring programs that gets reported out, of course, to the CEO and the task force that I mentioned earlier. But the great thing there, again, as I mentioned, the accountability piece, all of our owners have been encouraged to participate and be actively engaged. And so I'm happy to report that over 3/4 of our partners, 75% of our partners, are members of our employee network groups, to ensure that from a top-down perspective, everyone is intimately involved and helping support all of the grassroots efforts that occur. On the retention side of that, each of the groups have also created different success series. And so, for example, our women's group, our STAR group, they've created a S3, S4 program that's designed to identify early our up and coming young women professionals at the staff and senior level, to the point of mentoring them as they progress into the manager ranks. And then, of course, to ensure the pipeline for additional partners. We call that the S2. So have a program that supports the migration from the beginning part of their career to the most senior levels. Additionally, one of our other groups, our Black professional group, has done something similar, creating the Pathway to Promotion, our P2P program, which again is designed to identify early and support the ongoing progression of our Black professionals so that we can ensure we have an active pipeline to influence the population of our partners, both current and in the future as well. And so that's exciting that that's woven into everything that we do. The last part of that is we think about then the final piece of supporting the community. So from being actively engaged in different things like the Ronald McDonald House, or supporting all the different groups that exist in the country today, to being intimately involved in some of the professional networks like NABA, Ascend, et cetera, having many of our employees be active on the board. For example, I'm the vice chair of NABA's corporate advisory board. And so each of those three components, from the vision and the strategy to enforcing and having accountability from our owners, to the retention and recruiting effort to ensure that we are increasing our pipeline of candidates, as well as just the base from which we identify and have solid talent within the firm, to being out in the community to really showcase that we put energy behind the words and efforts in ensuring that we're doing our part for racial injustice and equality. So I am excited about all of those things that are happening and more to come. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you guys sharing that information. I think it's really impressive for me to hear all that you guys are doing, and so I can only imagine how impressive it is for the firms as well. So with that, that's the end of the questions that we have, I guess, pre-made for the panelists. So students, if you have any specific questions you want to ask, you can unmute yourself and ask, or post it in the chat and I can ask them for you. It's completely up to you. So if you have any questions, now's your time.
I had a question. So growing up, I've always had the question of people saying, "Where are you from?" And you usually don't take it that to heart, really. I usually just say, "Oh, I'm from Knoxville." But then they go, "Where are you really from?" And so I'm like, "West Knoxville." And they're like, "Where are you really, really from?" So then I eventually get the idea that they're kind of just hinting at my heritage. And I definitely don't take it offensively, but I would be lying to myself that I do feel like a sense of alienation in that sense. So I was just curious how your firm, outside of the typical formal initiatives with diversity inclusion, how you guys still foster that kind of healthy, inclusive environment on a day-to-day basis, kind of like with like just everyday office interactions or like social gatherings and stuff.
Rachel, I'm happy to
go ahead, Amber.
So I think, Courtney, that's a great question. And what's really important is the teams that you work for. And when you think about all of the firms, you know, we're all big organizations, but when it comes down to it, you work on an engagement team, whether you're in assurance or tax, you're working with a core group of people every day. And encouraging those interactions, encouraging the ability to bring your whole self to work is really important in that team. Especially when you think about the amount of time that you end up spending with those people. And so for me, it's leadership within your team. You have to feel comfortable that the senior associates on your team are inquisitive, care about you as a person, that the partner on the team cares about the entire team and not just the job that's getting done, but that the people that are members of the team are healthy, are being taken care of, are bringing them everything that they have to work, and that everybody is supporting all of that.
I think that was great. The only thing that I would add to that is we've learned I've personally learned over the course of my career, but we've learned as a firm that a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And so sometimes they wouldn't be, thinking about the fact that maybe this is offensive because it implies that, you're already going ahead and separating me out by thinking that I'm from somewhere that I maybe have never been to before. And so I think we had to open up the dialogue to say, hey, this is something that may not be taken in the right respect, just coming out because people are curious and they want to make sure that they're getting to know you, as Amber mentioned. And so I think that if there is a way that you feel about that at our firm, we try to make sure that you have the voice to say that. But it's about educating people and making them know, making them aware that some of the questions that they may have, although they have the best intentions, may not come off the best. So that education piece is definitely important. That was one of the questions that we had on our panel a couple years ago. One of our Latino professionals mentioned that, and she was like, well, I'm from California. That's all. I've never been to anywhere else. And so when people ask me that, it makes me feel like you already have something in your mind about what I'm supposed to be. And so that education piece there is necessary. But I would say to assume good intent. And if you feel a type of way about it, reach out to someone and say, hey, maybe they didn't mean anything about it, but I did appreciate that. But we definitely want to make sure that you're in an environment where you feel comfortable.
Thank you, totally.
I think it's important just to be proactive about having just an environment of mutual respect. So I'll echo what Amber and you said before. It's just, it is important on that team level from top to bottom and throughout the organization just to be proactive. And it's up to us individually to work with our colleagues and our, just whomever is in our life to have that level of mutual respect.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone.
Anyone else have a question?
Oh yeah, I have a question. It's more so a business-oriented question though. So hey guys, I'm Marquez North. I'm a 3L at the University of Tennessee College of Law. My question is specific to exactly what opportunities that each firm has to offer for someone with a legal background but doesn't want to do traditional law. I saw that my recruiter was saying that it's been a hiring trend for people in accounting firms with Juris Doctorates, but I just wanted to hear from y'all's perspective.
Yeah, I'll answer from what I know, right? We probably need one of our forensics and lit support guys to really talk to you as to what those opportunities exist. But, we do have practices that focus on expert witness functions and services, litigation support, forensics, fraud detection, e-discovery, a lot of the support that our clients and their counsel require to litigate their cases or make their claims, right? So those are opportunities that exist in the advisory practice for us at BDO, and we can get you connected for more info, and I'll have more on Friday for Meet the Firms if you swing by.
I think it can be a distinct advantage for you. In our advisory practice, we're constantly looking at various purchase agreements, consulting agreements, any type of legal document. Of course, we're not an attorney firm, so we can't draft documents. And if you joined us, we wouldn't be able to draft documents even if you had a JD on the team, But as far as your ability to come in and immediately add value because you understand the terms that you're looking for and you can review a document on the advisory side, it'd be really interesting to see how that would help.
And I guess I'll just give a quick, an easy way. Give me a call and we'll find a place for you. We have everything from the internal and external corporate side to risk management to our national tax practice and our litigation. But we have lots of different places where folks of varying backgrounds have phenomenal and successful careers. So not to give the recruiting plug, but you see my email address at the bottom. Feel free to hit me up and we'll talk.
Well, if we're taking that approach, I'll say the same thing.
Shameless. That was really good.
We'll echo all of that. I think
everybody can reach out at any time.
I can see your question was well received there. Very well done.
Anyone else? You can also post it in the chat if you don't want to speak.
I have a question. So my name is Brianna Cuevas, and I'm a 2L, also located at the University of Tennessee College of Law. And my question goes back to the diversity within the firms. So I'm curious what you all do as far as your recruiting and your onboarding with new hires, what you do to make sure they're prepared to enter a diverse workforce and know how to interact with people who may be from marginalized groups or minority groups.
So, Brianna, I think that's a great question. I think one of the things that one of the other firms mentioned earlier today, and PWC has this as well, part of our expectation of our associates is that that you continue to evolve on your inclusive leadership and what those experiences are that you've had and what that means to you as you evolve as a professional. I think by the time, when you look at our teams and the way that we deliver work, we're generally in teams of anywhere from 4 to, bigger teams than that. But what's really important is that those leaders on your team are able to teach and to help understand the experiences of everyone on the team and what's important to those team members to be successful. And so someone on the team may not have had exposure to someone that's coming from an HBCU university, and understanding what different background that had or what different educational experience that had on them and on their life experience versus someone that came out of an SEC university. And really bridging that gap. And it doesn't always have to be on the individual employee. I think a lot of times it's on the team. And so striving to have strong teams where we have an expectation that our teams are inclusive and that we're sharing. And there's a little bit of that education that's expected as well. If you feel like your life experience is something where it's different than your teammates, encouraging those interpersonal connections and teaching others about what your experience is and why that's important to the professional that you are today. For me, it's not always been easy to share my whole life just because I'm a private person, but I've always gotten the feedback of, hey, you're a mom of 4, that's pretty badass. You've made it this far in your career, and you need to explain that. You need to bring that to work. You need to show that vulnerability and show those challenges to everyone around you so they kind of know how your background has brought you to be the professional that you are today. I'm not quite as badass as 5 kids, but 4 is still pretty good.
Hey, it's totally badass. I don't know.
My girls would tell me I would be remiss if I didn't actually say it's 7. I raised 2 cousins and they're like my kids too. But for us, I think if I understand the premise of your question, you're asking about the recruiting and retention part. So for us, it begins with a joint strategy, 1 with the employee network groups that I talked about, but 2, then partnering with our talent acquisition team, right? I can't complain that I want more women or minorities or Black professionals if I'm not ponying up the resources to support our recruiting team in the market. And so in doing so, we've created and always are revisiting our diversity recruiting strategy, which is identifying schools like UT and identifying the talented groups that exist, and then bringing a diverse recruiting team to that campus to ferret out the candidates that meet all the different variety of skill sets that we're looking for, as well as the gender and ethnicity things that, of course, make our diversity strategy come to pass. Once you're in-house, of course, from a retention perspective. So I mentioned a number of the programs, from the how to identify you as the early entry associate to the future maker and future leader in our firm, and ensuring that each of those programs, regardless of if you are an audit professional, consulting, or tax professional, or similar to yourself and your Marquise, that are on the legal side and have a slightly different path, right? That we identify you wherever you are within the firm and ensure that we have the ability to get in touch with a mentor and get you the successful career that you deserve.
Yeah, and I would echo some of what Amber and Charles said. And in addition to that, it is part of our onboarding process to get people in front of the different employee resource groups that we have, and providing that mentorship. But having the representation on campus for what those firms look like, I think is very important. A lot of times we find that they may bring a diverse talent slate to, or an a diverse employer group to, let's just say NABA or a Alpha or a SEND meeting, but that's not representative of what the office looks like. And so I think it starts from that level where it's a two-way street. It's not just the employer making it a better and inclusive environment. It's also up to the employee or the potential employee to be able to voice their concerns and be open to what a diverse environment would mean to them. If you went to HBCU and you lived in a urbanized area where you saw primarily diverse people, and then you get into the public accounting industry, which is primarily white, sometimes people don't handle that transition well. So getting you in line with people that can help foster that transition, and then also having, when people come to campus to recruit, making sure that they understand and communicate what that looks like and what type of environment that we have within the office as well.
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
So you might have time for one more question if anyone has one. All right. Well, I just want to thank our panelists again. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come and talk to all of us and have these important conversations. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate your continued support of our students here. We couldn't do what we do without you guys, so we really appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Glad to do
Bye,
it.
everyone.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys at Meet the Firms.
Take care, everyone.
Friday.
All right, thank you. See you.
Bye.
Thank y'all.